Opportunities. What comes to your mind when you hear that word? A chance for you to shine, a chance for you to grow, or a chance for you to change your life forever. Hello everyone, my name is Stuti Chakraborty and I'm currently working as an occupational therapist at Christian Medical College, Vellore, India. I belong to a middle class family and have been blessed with the most compassionate, hardworking, and committed individuals as my parents. I moved from the eastern part of India to the west when I was very young and finished my high school in a city called Vadodara, which is in the western state of Gujarat. Till the end of middle school, I was a good student, always excelled in and balanced between extracurricular activities as well as academics. But, much similar to the situation faced by almost every student in India, my performance plummeted once I entered high school. In high school, I took a science track with a major in biology. I was genuinely interested in learning about plant, animal, and human life in further detail, which is why I took up the major. My parents never pressured me into taking up a stream they perceived would lead to a more successful life, which I must admit makes my journey a lot easier than a vast majority of students in India who are still succumbing to the pressure of choosing an academic career path solely based on their parents' or family members' skewed perceptions of what brings about success. However, little did my naive, over-enthusiastic self know back then that I was set for a complete 360-degree turn in my academic path. Subjects like biology and chemistry, which used to be my favorites in the lower grades, became a nightmare for me. Ever since I was young, I have always enjoyed the process of learning and acquiring new information. But during the last 2 years of my school life, I started to detest the subjects I once used to enjoy exploring. I joined a competitive and premier preparatory institute for admission to medical programs in India, my parents leaving behind no effort to ensure that I always received the best of training opportunities. However, I found my self-worth suddenly being replaced by and determined through marks and rank lists. It goes without saying that the education system and curriculum in India is one of the most challenging ones to navigate in the entire world. And the fact that you literally have to fight tooth to nail for any sort of recognition with millions of other students out there makes the competition even worse, often unhealthy and derogatory to the mental health and well-being of young adults across the country. You are expected to make a decision that will determine to a very large extent what the rest of your life will uphold, what you have to wake up to do every day, just at the tender age of 18. However, I am happy that the scenario is definitely evolving and has changed significantly ever since I graduated from high school 5.5 years ago. Young adults today are a lot more aware, confident, and convinced to pursue a career path they truly wish to, and are unafraid to fight back if told to pursue otherwise. But the situation is far from ideal, and there is still a long way to go before there comes a day when every child can chase their dream. I found myself devoured by the rat race to excel, with strategies to score in and clear a competitive examination for entering into a good medical college being shoved down my throat as a daily reminder. Fast forward to the end of a cumbersome journey of an average Indian high school student like me, I found myself dealing with what appeared to be the biggest failure of my life. Not being able to secure a merit-based position in a government or esteemed medical institution in my home state, which is what I had been aiming for the past 2 years of my high school life. The ratio of seat availability to candidates for admission into a medical institution in India is nominal to the total number of candidates applying, and calling it nominal would be an understatement. This has resulted in a cat and mouse chase based on marks, numbers, scores, percentiles, rank lists that transform the tender, impressionable minds of young adults into a disarray of confusion, self-doubt, and second-guessing. Some of us are able to come out of this internal turmoil that seeks to threaten the very foundation of our personality as we transition into becoming full-fledged adults. But for some, this constant battle to prove oneself never ceases. I was no stranger to this entire journey. However, now that I look back, if I would have never had to go through those experiences, I would have never had come as far as I have today. Taking you a few months ahead in the timeline, I was finally able to secure admission at Christian Medical College, Vellore, which is, of course, one of the top ranked medical institutions in India. Now, you must be wondering that I am a hypocrite. I told you an extensive story about the competitive Indian academic selection process, my defeats, and ultimately ended up securing a place myself. Well, I can assure you that I am not, and I will tell you why. I strongly believe that there comes a time in everyone's life when they are presented with that one singular opportunity. For me, this was my offer letter for a place in the Bachelor's of Occupational Therapy degree based on my performance. After I had faced rejections from nearly 13 medical programs in the country, this was the first of many opportunities that created doors for me when there seemed to be none. My transition to start attending college was not an easy one. I had to move halfway across the country, adapt to a new culture, place, and was faced with a completely different lifestyle to lead, one which I had never led before, which was living in a hostel. Throughout my childhood and young adulthood, I was privileged enough to have been treated with utmost care, concern, and was interdependent on my family for almost every aspect of my life. In other words, I was a pampered teenager who had never stepped out of the shielding arms of her parents, even for once in her life. So when I had to make the move, it was struggle in its realest sense, a lot like it is for many Indian students who are taught to cram their textbooks and stay at home to study one day and then expected to be financially sound, independent in all aspects of managing themselves, their mental health, physical health, and overall well-being the very next day. Once I started college, however, my entire perspective towards life changed. A major contributing factor to this could have been my profession. I started becoming exposed to people with severely compromised illnesses that affected not only their health but also had an impact on their monetary, social, familial, professional, and personal relations. This made me realize how trivial my complaints or problems were and how truly blessed I was or had been all this while. It also made me understand and appreciate the true value of human life, of having a humble nature, and of giving back to a society and community one lives in any small or big way. This forms a major part of my outreach and advocacy work today. Since childhood, I have always been an active student and have reciprocated interest in partaking in extracurricular activities. I was particularly very good at debates, drama, speech delivery, creative writing and editing, and also had an affinity for public speaking. When I ventured into college, I decided to put my skills to use and was able to hold various leadership positions in order to further my own interests as well as those of the student organizations that I worked for. However, the leadership experience I had in college was very different from what had to be managed back in school. The amount of responsibility and answerability that was expected to be demonstrated towards the position was several folds more. But the most challenging aspect at college was managing the position in a student organization on top of being a healthcare student with tremendous academic burden and also having to keep up with the daily strains of chores and obligations of leading life in a hostel facility. However, again, looking back, I realized that these particular experiences also made me become really efficient and better at multitasking. It again provided me with an opportunity for my personality traits to shine through because I am a person that thrives on and works well under pressure. But once I had taken up leadership responsibilities at college, adjusted to the hostel life that I had abruptly become familiarized to, I saw myself and my growth stagnating. I was academically on the right track towards merit and was leading a content life as a healthcare professional in the making, just as my peers were. But there was still a void, something lackluster and mundane that lurked in my everyday life. I have come to realize in all these years that self introspection has tremendous power. When you have the time, take every minute to ask yourself, have you done enough? Have you been enough? Is this the life you want to lead now and leave behind? Is this what you want to be remembered for, missed for, regarded for? If your answer to any of these questions is not in the affirmative, then it is time for you to get up and get going, to turn them into a yes, because only you are capable of doing this for yourself. A voice from within me told me that I was not doing enough and that I had to do more. This was my cue to start thinking about what I could do more. More than just being a regular college student, more than just being a transitioning adult, more than being someone who is just getting by with life. As mentioned, I had a long standing passion for writing, and that is where it struck me. I could collate my writing abilities with the ongoing knowledge I was gaining as a healthcare student in order to raise awareness about and advocate for disability in the community, since I was working with people with disabilities on a daily basis. The drawback was that because of my hectic schedule requiring stringent attendance in clinical and academic areas, I knew that I would not be able to contribute to fieldwork and hence working on issues that were relevant to the community, upskilled my professional learning, and also fueled my passion for writing using just the tips of my fingers seemed like the ideal thing to do. This is where my long, exciting, oftentimes stressful, demanding, yet completely thrilling journey of change making began. I started off with volunteering for the United Nations online volunteer program. I wrote content relevant to healthcare fields with an attempt to provide a perspective on the difficulties faced by persons with disabilities due to various societal barriers. Several people started noticing my work and began responding to my writing, only to encourage me to write more. During this phase of my life, all I did was come back to my hostel dorm room, take out my laptop, and go on a search frenzy to find ways through which I could contribute to things that overlooked geographical location, be it campaigns, initiatives, organizations, corporates, institutions, or not for profits. I grabbed every opportunity I could to apply to voluntary positions that fit into my skill base. It is inevitable that I had to wait for long durations to hear back from some and was blatantly rejected by many other places. One click led to another, and in a few months' time, I was working in several capacities, contributing to the research, growth and analytics, social media management, and content dynamics for multiple organizations, all of them not for profit ventures. I had also started volunteering for the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth, known as the UNMGCY, as a member of the Working Group on Sustainable Developmental Goal 3, SDG 3, Health for All. Through my engagement with the UNMGCY and my volunteer work in healthcare and disability awareness, I was chosen as one of the only 3 people to represent India on behalf of the UNMGCY at the Global Conference on Primary Health Care held in Astana, organized by the World Health Organization. I believe I won't be too far fetched when I say But this was the second major opportunity that life gave me, along with the one I got during my undergraduate admissions. Within months of starting out with my advocacy and community outreach work, I was already representing my country at a global platform. But did this opportunity walk up to me on a bright sunny day? No. I had to chase behind several small and big ones, face a lot of ups and downs, and be dejected many a times, only to receive the best one and the biggest one. Since then, the road has been a long one. That was the ignition point for my complete turnaround from just writing about issues to actually speaking up about them. From then on, I made connections, expanded, and understood the importance of networking with correct and like minded people. I started becoming more involved in not just participatory but leadership roles across various organizations. Over the course of these years, I have worked as a country correspondent for Healthcare Information for All, a country correspondent for international health policies, a country correspondent for Your Commonwealth, a chapter officer for Women in Global Health India chapter. I have also represented India at various global level platforms, such as at the Global Healthcare Workforce Networks Conference, where I talked about gender equity in the healthcare sector. I have been selected for the Harvard Medical School and MIT's Joint Healthcare Innovation Bootcamp, and I am currently also a Harvard Public Health Review Fellow. Through my fellowship, I aim to raise awareness on the stroke and disabling implications of it. I have been among one of the 20 women selected from around the world as a Women Leaders for Planetary Health mentee for their mentorship and leadership program last year. While engaging in health leadership, I have also managed to graduate top of my class with an academic gold medal awarded to me by my institution. During the final year of my undergraduate studies, I became interested in and made a shift towards research, mainly due to my vast clinical exposure, which made me want to delve deeper into understanding how the brain functions at the fundamental level and what happens in case of brain dysfunction. I replicated the same efforts I had made while venturing into volunteering for expanding my research interests as well. Whenever I saw a professor whose work interested me, I wrote a cold email to them. I introduced myself, explained why I was interested in their work, articulated my own interests, and clearly mentioned what I expected of them in terms of a collaboration or their guidance, mainly because professors are some of the busiest people in the world and do not have the time to acknowledge poorly composed requests, no matter how brilliant or motivated the student might be. I also always provided my detailed CV just so that they could gain a better idea of who I am. I seized every opportunity I could to contribute to collaborative research work that did not require being present in person. I started off with full-fledged research in early 2020, and up until last month, that is within under a year, have been able to publish 10 papers, all of which are in internationally acclaimed peer-reviewed journals or on preprint servers currently under peer review in journals of good international standing. I wrote a paper on addressing the divide in accessibility to assistive technologies for persons with disabilities in low income and low and middle income countries versus high income countries, and suggested recommendations to address the same, which was presented at the United Nations Commission on Science and Technology for Development. Today, I also run a youth led, not for profit initiative named Stimulus, which aims to raise awareness about the brain sciences and psychology, especially among students and young professionals. Provide them with opportunities to learn more about our amazing brain and its behavior. Stimulus has impacted more than 5,000 young people across various countries, continents, age groups, and academic levels. Sometimes when I go through my CV, it is difficult for me to believe that I have been able to achieve whatever I have, no matter how small or big, all of which I am extremely blessed and thankful for. As someone who has always had low self esteem and self confidence, My achievements and the impact I created on other people's lives through my work also helped me overcome my own internal insecurities and battles. To end, I would like to sum up my journey, starting three key points. First, I took advantage of the concept of everything as at your disposal because of the internet. It just depends on whether you use it to grow or go. Long before the pandemic started, I was making use of virtual tools, platforms, ventures, and engagements before a lot of people started with their change making journey. The pandemic undoubtedly pushed many to think about how to give back to their community from within the confined corners of their home, and this makes me really glad. Second, I did not let my circumstances and restrictions with regards to not being able to contribute on ground to the community due to my academic and clinical commitments limit my ability to contribute altogether. I thought out of the box, saw where else the gap was and needed to be addressed, and took up every opportunity within my capacity to address it. I think when we become complacent and start blaming or attributing our lack of determination to change what is coming in the way of achieving our goals is when we make our biggest mistake. Do not ever let singular circumstances, situations you are faced with, and particular phases in your life determine who you will be for the rest of the time you are alive. Always remember you have only one life, which is your only and biggest opportunity. Finally, once you realize and find your true calling, there is no going back. But let me remind you, your true calling will not come to you if you hide from and let yourself be carried away with the monotone of everyday average life, daily chores, routines, and doing all of this on loop. You need to make an effort. Seek for your chance. Nitpick from the endless sea of possibilities out there and choose what is best suited to your individual self, brings out your authenticity, and drives your purpose. I started off with clicking away on the keyboard, and today you are watching me and listening to me talk. You have the same keyboard in front of you. All you need to do is find it. And then someday, maybe you will be telling 1,000 other people the answer to opportunities. What are they? Thank you.